You didn't lose discipline, you lost identity. You're listening to Identity After the Uniform, where we rebuild identity, stability, and direction when the structure is gone. Over the last few weeks, since launching this series, I've had messages from veterans, serving soldiers, wives, partners, and people completely outside the military world saying the exact same thing. I thought it was just me. And honestly, that's exactly why this project had to happen. Because for years, we've talked about transition practically, but not psychologically. We talk about careers, CVs, housing, resettlement, but almost nobody talks about identity. What happens when the structure disappears? What happens when the role disappears? What happens when the person you became inside that environment suddenly doesn't know where they fit anymore? And one of the biggest misunderstandings I see after military service is this idea that people lose discipline. Most don't. They lose identity. That's different, because discipline was never operating on its own. It was being reinforced daily by routine, purpose, belonging, responsibility, pressure, standards, and structure. For years, you knew exactly who you were. Then one day, that system stops, and nobody explains what that does psychologically. After I left the army, I genuinely believed something was wrong with me. I couldn't understand how I could function under pressure for years, yet struggle so much without structure. How could the same person produce completely different results? That question stayed with me for years, and the more I researched behavior, psychology, identity, and performance, the more I realized people are trying to fix behavioral inconsistency without understanding identity instability underneath it. That's why people keep restarting. You get motivated, you push hard, you build momentum, then stress hits, pressure hits, emotion hits, and suddenly old behaviors return again. Not because you're weak, because the nervous system always returns to what feels familiar, even if what feels familiar is unhealthy. That's why awareness matters so much, because awareness is the moment you stop blindly living inside the pattern and finally start seeing it. One of the biggest things I've learned through this podcast already is how many people have spent years silently blaming themselves for something they never properly understood, especially veterans, especially men, especially people who were trained to keep functioning no matter what was happening internally.